I think if you give visual art too much context, then you sort of limit people's imagination that they can and how they connect with your work.
Welcome, my name's David Bailey. I'm a life coach, and today I'm joined by Nicha, who's the creative director of Emmy and an artist based in Bangkok.
Hello, David.
Hey.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Nicha, I'd love to dive in and find out a little bit about how you first got started on this path of being an artist.
Yeah, well, actually, I think being an artist for me was never really a path. Like, I never thought of myself that like, oh, I'm going to grow up and be an artist or anything like that. I just, my parents used to like make me take all these like piano classes, jazz dance classes, singing classes and stuff during the weekends when I was younger. And basically, I was really bad at everything except for one thing, which was drawing classes. My dad's also an illustrator, so he's been teaching me how to draw since I was little, then additional art classes and stuff. So I basically didn't intend to really be an artist. I just followed what feels good doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your dad is your dad an artist as well?
My dad is, yes, he's an artist. He graduated from Silpakorn University, which is an art school here in Thailand. And he started his own advertising agency, and he's also a political cartoonist.
Okay.
He has a lot of influence on me, like, throughout advertising and drawing and all that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So growing up, seeing him do his stuff, was that an inspiration on you?
I can't even remember the first time I picked up a pencil, but I knew it was like really young. And I just sat next to him and I started seeing him drawing all these things like so perfectly, because he's very academically trained. So I started seeing him capturing these things that he sees on paper. And I just thought it was a good balance between really fun and really challenging. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good formula for life.
Yeah.
Fun and challenging.
Yeah.
Like, when was it like you decided like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Because I know this sounds funny, but it's a need, it's not a want. Like I want to like do many different things, but with art, with making art and stuff, I need to do it. So if it just gives me so much joy and happiness, and it keeps me like to keep like challenging myself creatively and creatively with thinking process, with materials and all that stuff. It's just the fuel that keeps me going, I guess. So
you work as a creative director and you worked as a copywriter and other kind of roles. And do you see that as art as well, or how do you conceptualize?
Yes, of course, yeah. Like copywriting is just it's like painting on a canvas, but it's words on paper. It's still like the reason why I was a copywriter for like 10 years is because it's the same balance as making art, fun and challenging. And I think especially with English too, I think it's English. It's not my first language, right? So like, being an English writer helps me see like the language itself from like a very outsider point of view. And I find that like the most challenging part about English is that like one word can mean so many things depending on the context and depending on which location on a sentence it is. So in the end, it's more like a puzzle, which I think is one of the fun and challenging parts as well with writing for me.
Yeah. Context is everything.
Yeah.
And do you think that has an equivalent within like painting or visual art?
See, that's the one thing that I personally don't think visual art has. Context is good, but context is not as important as the concept of art. Because, I think if you give visual art too much context, then you sort of limit limit people's imagination that they can and how they connect with your work, right? Because you kind of want to give them just enough context, but give them enough room to make a journey towards their own what resonates with them.
So it's more open to interpretation.
Yeah, it should be. With visual art, it should be. That's how you connect with the masses, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's allowed to interpret it in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What like point did you feel like you developed your own particular style of artist?
I haven't really, if you think about it, like, because the one thing about my artwork is that when people see it, they know who it is, which I think I've been very lucky in that respect.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So like I've always been commented like not on my academic skills, but on my strong style. But to be honest, like the style is something I've been fostering for about like 10 years, but it didn't start with a goal. I like when I have a pen in my hand, I like to draw the lines like really bold, really strong, and like really thick. It's all about the lines. It's all about the line work for my work, right? So basically everyone, including my dad, actually, he said, your lines are too stiff. Like I had a portfolio, like I showed my portfolio to one of the illustrators here in Thailand. He said, your line's too stiff. It's thick. It's, it's just no good. The lines are not good. So basically the past 10 years have just been me like, at first I was like, well, but drawing it like this as a process, the lines are, they make me so happy. And my gut feeling is telling me that there's something to it, So I spent the last 10 years trying to work on this line and the elements around it in each and everything that I draw, like colors, what the background is going to be, what the subject matter is going to be, just to sort of incubate, is that the right word? Like incubate this line work for it to become something that I'm happy with and that people will like as well aesthetically. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it does. And what is there any with the lines that being so prominent in your work, is there any, like, is it just because visually you like that, or is there any kind of other reason behind why you do that?
I just like that it's bold, like it's bold and it creates a certain like focal point to the work. Because I'm not a painter, I'm more of an illustrator. So that's how like I focus on the line work a lot, because illustrators, you need to have like a distinct line work for everything. So yeah, but I remember like once like someone told me like your lines are no good, and then I was like just watch me, I'm gonna take this line, like I'm gonna just take my line work like everywhere with me, and it's gonna be good. And then the minute I first got a commission to paint this 9-meter wall in Singapore, I sent a picture and then I sent it to that person and I was like, see, I told you.
Revenge.
Hey, for any artist who's like trying to like make it or whatever, if you get hired in a foreign country for a 9-meter wall, I think it's a pretty like
yeah.
Yeah.
See, yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Even though it took me like almost 10 years, but who cares?
Exactly. Just stick to your guns, stick to your stuff.
Yeah.
And what for you is the piece that you're most proud of?
The piece that I'm most proud of?
Yeah.
So far, the last piece I've made, I think that would be like the fairest answer. No, because because I make art constantly, and I always, as I showed you before, like the piece, like very ambitious. It starts off like with super like ambitious plans, like I'm gonna do this and this and this and this, and that I usually hate myself after when I'm like in the thick of it. But but one constant thing about every single art piece I made, I always look for ways that once I'm finished, I want to be surprised with myself that I made it. Like, cause like if I get an ambitious idea and if it seems impossible, I would do it.
Okay, I like
You
that.
know what I mean? Yeah, like so even with landscapes and stuff, if I walk around and I see some perspective or like some scenes that like, oh, that looks hard. That looks like it's almost impossible for me. Then I would like get my iPad out and then sit down and I'll get it done. I'm not proud. Some works I'm proud of, but every single piece of artwork, I make sure that if I pull it off, I'm gonna be super surprised that I did. You could call that pride or yeah,
Yeah, I like that because it's just like how we grow. Like if we constantly like look for like what is the road less traveled or what's going to be a challenge, that's how, like, not just with art, with everything, like we get better. We have like it's like if you go to the gym and you're just doing really light weights, where you're like, oh, actually I'll lift this one because it's hard, I'll do this exercise because it's difficult. That's going to grow you stronger because you're forced to adapt and get better.
Yeah, like exactly. It's like it's funny because we always think that like, oh, you got to get like, if we're really passionate about something, it's not just about keep doing it the same way. It's also because I think humans get bored really easily. And I think when you have a passion that your gut is telling you that like, this is it, this is going to be what you do for the rest of your life, you better keep challenging yourself so you don't get bored of it and throw it away and thinking that has nothing else to offer you after like 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah. Do you find that translates to other areas of your life?
Absolutely, actually. Like I think everything's if it's part of you, I think it requires some constant challenging of yourself. Yeah, like for the past like year, I think ever since I moved back from Singapore, this past year, I focused on my career a little less, but then I started challenging myself in terms of like my creativity and my personal life as well. How I am as a friend, as a daughter, as a partner, really, really look inwards and like challenge myself to get out of the comfort zone, just like I would do with my art.
Does it help you with the artwork? Does it help you become more expressive, like in your personal relationships? Do you think that it has a benefit to you in that relationship?
That still kind of needs work. Like, I always say like, I'm not very, like I talk a lot, but I'm not very expressive about what I feel, what I think. Like not so much of the time. So, for an artist, I'm not very expressive when it comes to like the way I feel and all that stuff, like verbally. So I think I thought about like letting like the artwork helps me like, express my feelings, the way I see things. Yeah. But then again, like I'm not really like an emotional artist where, like how Frida Kahlo, she channels her pain and she channels her pain and she expresses her heartaches and anger and all that stuff through her artwork. But I've never really done that. It's more, for me, art is more about like ideas. Like how do I connect with people through these like ideas that are available and accessible to everyone rather than feelings. Yeah.
And are there any overarching ideas that like reoccurring ideas that show up in your work?
Visually, I always like draw like anatomy, like aesthetically, I do anatomy and flowers and nature and all that stuff. I can draw many things, but then they're sort of like in this toolbox of skills that I have, right? And once I get the idea, I visit the same old toolbox with what I've got, and then I just pull out things that might fit the idea. Yeah. But the idea will always change. Yeah.
Okay. So it's evolving. And what for you has been the most interesting place that you've drawn or painted on? Because I know you've got the Let's Get Weird series, and you use like random objects or just different things that you're painting and drawing on. What's been the most unusual thing that or kind of canvas that you painted?
Lots of the grand piano and the motorcycles were pretty fun, actually. Like the grand piano was really fun. Like I had a client, so I couldn't really do like anything I wanted. But the fact that like spending 45 hours on just like the top flap of the grand piano and seeing it put it together, like the things that I never thought that I would get to do, which is grand piano is one of them, motorcycles. What else? Usually like really big walls. But the most unusual feeling was when I lived in Singapore and COVID was about to hit. I knew COVID was about to hit and we were all going into lockdown, and I was like, I need to do something this weekend. I need to do something that will help me, that will sustain my excitement throughout COVID lockdown, which I thought was going to be like 5 months, and it looked 2 years later. But I flew to Penang in Malaysia by myself. Like I flew there by myself for a weekend, and then I painted a wall there illegally.
Oh, cool. I won't tell anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, like
cool.
But yeah, like it was I got there to the hotel, and then I spent about half a day scouting a wall where I know I won't get caught, and it's gonna be cool, this is gonna be cool. And yeah, so and then I did that over the weekend, and that was fun. Yeah.
Cool. So did you bring your paints with you?
Actually I only brought my paintbrushes.
Yeah,
I brought my paintbrushes, and then I just sort of find a hardware store or something, because I use house paint, I don't spray paint. So it's less noticeable with like the lack of smell and everything, right? So I just get house paint and then did a simple bug drawing on a wall. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Penang. Like I didn't realize, well, I went there and I didn't have much background on the place, but like they have a massive street art scene there, and it was,
yes, they do. Yeah.
a surprise. I didn't like, it's actually, and it also seemed to be kind of endorsed by the city itself. It wasn't like for Asia. I was quite surprised because
I know, right?
It seemed like it was endorsed as a tourist thing, and yeah, it was everywhere. I just was completely taken aback by that.
Yeah, like when I was on the flight to Penang, that trip, I actually looked up on Google if you can actually legally paint walls in Penang. And actually, if you state your case with the city, sort of like a city center, there's a center in the city where they take care of the city and everything. So if you state your case, just like 2-3 days before you want to paint, then they'll consider your sketch, and then they'll let you if they think it's okay. Yeah. So I read that on Google, but I needed to paint that day, so I was like, well,
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I need to leave it. Let's see.
Ask permission later. Did you meet any local artists while you were there?
No, I didn't get to, but you know what? Like the good thing about painting murals like on the side of the street is that like people always like wants to chat with you, because they're just like interested in art and all that stuff. I think that's one of my, since I started doing murals and street arts and stuff, I think that's one of my favorite things about it, is that, practicing the art of conversation, talking to strangers, but the strangers that are really, they want to connect with your art. They wonder what you're doing here. And, I think it's just nice to talk to people and really get them even more excited about art. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a democratization of art, like when it's just in a public arena like that, because it's that might not get normally exposed to art. It's an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I love about street art as well. Like I started doing street art because in Thailand, especially in Bangkok, when you drive everywhere, you see all these like curse words and people just spray painting on the walls, like insulting each other's universities or whatever.
Oh, okay. I blissfully unaware of that because I don't
I
spend
know.
time.
Yeah, I'm just telling you that there's a lot of like, the
Your,
word equivalent of a
okay,
penis being sprayed on the wall.
your mum jokes and yeah.
No, but I started it to cover all these things up. I would have a graffiti kit in the back of my car, still do, and then I would just drive around. And if I see a wall with like really big swear words on it, I would just stop and then I'll make art to cover it. Because I really do think that a wall in a city or in a community, it's part of the community. It affects how you feel. It affects your environment. So instead of turning it into a blank canvas where people can just write whatever they want to, without caring about others, I think walls in a community or in a city should be treated as if it's part of it. And that's what I love about street art. It's the fastest way to change your environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it does. Art and architecture, 100%. It affects the mood of place, and it affects the psychology of the people living there.
Yeah, because when I make a sketch for a public mural, I always make sure that the sketch is very friendly, very happy, very easy to digest, nothing personal, and because it's not for me, obviously. I mean, it's not like I do it for others, but it's not just for me, it's for other people as well. So you gotta be considerate of that, I think. Yeah.
So you want it to be like uplifting?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I want my art to make people smile. Maybe that's just it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you done much because were you in some street art competition in Bangkok, right? Is that
it's not a competition, it's just a festival. I don't compete with anyone.
Fight. You're in a fight. You're in a street art fight.
Yeah. No. I'm not a competitive type. No, but it's a meeting of styles. It's called Meeting of Styles. It's an international graffiti festival. And yeah, I was there 2 years in a row, 2018 and 2019, but they haven't had one in Thailand since COVID. Okay. Yeah, the funny thing about 2018, the first time I joined, I had just started painting murals about like maybe a year and then some, like before that. And I told myself that I would get really good at it when I first started. Like my first ball, I was like, I'm gonna get really good at this. And I was like, whoa, you're gonna need a benchmark on like what is good, right? What is good enough? Yeah. So you don't even need a benchmark. And then just a year and something later, I was like, I sent all the walls I painted to Meeting of Styles, the judges on like who picks who to be in the festival. And I sent it in thinking that, you know what, this is never gonna happen. Like seriously, never gonna happen. Because my benchmark was, if I'm able to go paint at Meeting of Styles or, these events, then I would know that I've reached a certain point, right? Then I sent it in 2018. I sent in my like portfolio back then, and then they came out with a flyer with all the names. I guess I missed the email that I got in, and then they came out with all the files and all the names, and then I just didn't see my name on there. Because there were like so many names, so I was just like, I'm not gonna be on there. And then I sent it to my friend, like, see, I like this festival, I didn't make it, and he just like sent it back to me with like my name circled. And then I was so happy. I was like, I can't believe I've only been painting walls for a year, and then I get to do Meeting of Styles and stuff. And then I showed up, and of course, I was like the only girl that.
Oh, cool.
So basically, the entire 2 days was just like me standing in the midst of like topless men with spray paint, and me just like with my brushes and stuff.
Every girl's fantasy.
Not really. When they're holding spray paint, they're really stinky.
Okay. Sweaty men with spray paint.
Yeah. But the next year, 2019, I got invited back and they gave me a Jeep to paint. So I got to paint a Jeep, and was the was one of the featured artists. I gave a talk and stuff like that as well. So in 2019 Meaning of Styles, like I really got to like fully express myself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the next benchmark for you? Like, do you have one that you've set yourself?
My next benchmark is, I just started a new job at Grammy, right? And that's just like, it's not for me, like, everyone thinks like artists needs to have a day job to pay the bills, but my day job I actually love, which I'm very lucky in that respect. So, it doesn't just pay my bills, but it's also my passion as well. So my next benchmark is to make sure I'm really good at this role in the way that I want to be. So that the benchmark would be that in 6 months, I would get to make amazing things at this place and have music and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just so your job is helping to develop artists.
Yeah. Like branding artists. So if they give me an artist, like being a creative director means that you spend time with the artist and you sort of just get to know what their niche is, and what do they want to say? What do they want to connect with people through? What kind of stories? So you kind of just visualize all of that into like album covers, the way they dress, what kind of music they're going to put out, what kind of music they're going to write. Not to control them, because that's one of my goals with this job. Actually, I'm just like, because I'm an artist too. The last thing I want the artists that I work with to feel is that they've sold their soul to a big corporation. That's the last thing I want them to feel. So I guess like a tangible benchmark would be if I put out an album with an artist where he or she feels like this is a great piece of art that came from me, and that in the business side of things, it is also a success.
Yeah.
And that's when I know I'm good at my job. Yeah.
Cool. And where do you find artists like this, like musicians and songwriters? Like, do you find them? Do they find you, or is it still something you're figuring out?
Well, we have like at Grammy, they have auditions every year, and people send in demos all the time. But my role is not really about, like, I can seek out artists, like seek out musical artists, but I'm an introvert and I don't like to leave the house or talk to people, so so I'll let someone else do that.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's just it's not my priority to seek out artists because we have such a big warehouse of demos and stuff like that like.
And I know you're a very musical person as well. That's something that you have a real passion for.
Yeah, I love music. Like, I think music is probably music is like, it's funny because every country has their own language, like the lyrics and stuff, right? But I still think that music, like, even if you don't understand the lyrics, it could still be considered a universal language because everyone understands melody.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
True. Yeah, I've been listening to I like a lot of Brazilian music and Belgian hip hop as well. And I don't know what they're talking about, but it just sounds good. Like the sound is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, when you listen to like you said, you listen to Brazilian music and stuff. When you listen to it, don't you just like, if you close your eyes, like, don't you just see the country? Like, you get feel.
Like I'm on a beach, but I am actually on a beach. But
you are on the beach, though.
I am on a beach.
Not too far there.
The Brazilian music has manifested it. But yeah, it does take me to a place. It's like very, like, transports you to a time and I think that's the beauty of music, that it has that ability to do that.
Yeah, not just certain places, man. Like certain memories, and I think it's great. Yeah.
So if people want to follow you, find out what you're doing in the future, or see some of your work, where is the best place to find out more about what you're up to?
I think I post updates on my artwork on Instagram a lot. I think it's a very accessible tool for people, and most of my Instagram is basically art and cat. Not too much cat, but just mostly art.
Okay. Yeah. And you've got those Let's Get Weird videos as well.
Yes, the Let's Get Weird thing is on oh, is this my opportunity to plug? Okay, so I make this silly content called Let's Get Weird on IGTV. It's on my account, and in each episode I make art on something weird. And I talk about my anecdotes, inspirations, and everything else. So I hope you guys get to see it.
And how do people follow? How do people find you on Instagram?
You can search gap.nicha, NICHA.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for having this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. And I will post the links below.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the bell button to be updated on all the latest videos. You can check me out on Instagram at David Bailey Life Coach.